This is my second choice of profession, social work.
Sorry, I was just getting this
Oh, shit, okay. Whoops.
Are you gonna say action? No?
Action.
Hey, come on in. Howdy, come on in. Come on in, ladies. Hi. My name is Max Lives. I'll be working with you while you're here at the MedTap Agency. It's really nice to meet you. Have a seat. Let's get comfortable. So tell me a little bit about what brings you guys in today.
Well, I'm Audrey, and this is my daughter Tiffany.
Nice to meet you, ladies.
Why don't you go ahead and tell them what happened?
Okay, well, so me and a bunch of my friends were in the locker room, and two of them pulled out a case of beer and asked me to drink, and I told them that wasn't something I wanted to do because my mom's always told me that I shouldn't.
Okay.
And they told me that I was a chicken and I couldn't fit into the group unless I joined in. So I did, and we ended up getting a little intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
The principal came, he then called the police, and it resulted in me being on probation.
Okay. Okay, so then has your principal or your probation officer referred you in here? Or your mom?
My probation officer
Okay,
did.
okay, so referred in here through probation. Okay, is there anything else that's going on, any other issues or anything I could help you out with?
No, I never would have guessed this would have happened. I've always seen Tiffany as a very confident young woman. I never thought she'd give in to peer pressure like that.
I think it's good advice your mom gave you, but then also too, now that we're here at this point, hopefully we can do some things that'll help you out moving forward. So kind of how things are going to go today, it's going to be a brief meeting. Initially here, we'll do some paperwork. We'll talk about kind of what to expect as we're moving forward within the treatment. I'm really glad that you made it in. If you have any questions about what we're doing here as far as in this session or what to expect later on, feel free to ask. Any kind of feedback we can get from our clients is appreciated. So, as of now, any questions? Well, all right. So, you said that you got in a lot of trouble, and you told me a little bit about your situation. You were with some friends that were drinking. Is there anything you left out, anything you'd like to add to it?
No.
Okay. Is this like an isolated incident, or is this something that's happened before?
I haven't really gotten in trouble for anything else.
Okay. Okay. Mom, anything you'd like to add there?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, all right. All right. So when you think about being in trouble, being in trouble at school, being in trouble with your principal, being in trouble with the police, like what kind of emotions come to your mind? What kind of feelings you experience?
Well, I kind of feel like I really wasn't doing anything wrong because the rest of my friends were doing it.
Okay. So you felt like by way of being a part of that group, it's just kind of what you guys were doing at that point in time?
Mhm.
Okay. How about you? What are your kind of feelings about the situation? You had mentioned that you thought that you'd raise a pretty better decisions.
I guess I was shocked when I got the phone call.
Sure.
I never thought that I would have that kind of experience. And I guess I have also discovered I don't feel completely prepared for how to deal with
Okay.
this.
Sounds
I
like
don't
you're
know what's
caught
the
off
right kind
guard
of
a little bit?
punishment. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Outside of your mom, it looks like you've got solid support from your mom. She's here with you today. That's really awesome. Outside of your mom, has anybody else in your family expressed any kind of concern about what's going on?
No, not really. My dad usually leaves all the decision making and
Okay.
things up to my mommy, so.
Okay. Is there any concerns that either of you have about moving forward from this situation?
I would like to know as far as like what type of treatment you're recommending for me to participate in.
Okay. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit here just in a second. As far as you, Mom, is there anything that you have concerns about moving forward with these kind of services?
No, I guess we don't really know much about how to navigate all these systems. I'm not really familiar with any of them.
Sure.
So I don't know if that's going to be your job to help me, or if you can tell me, who I can talk to. But this has all been very difficult.
Hopefully we can clear some of that up for you. Are you seeing, you'd mentioned you're on probation, you'd mentioned your principal was kind of involved in the situation. Are you seeing anybody else for any kind of similar services?
No.
Okay. All right. And then just a question that I kind of have for you before we get into some of these things about how the sequence will go once we're working together. What are some things you think you could do to avoid winding up in a similar situation?
I think that if someone could help me realize what is healthy boundaries
Okay.
when I'm interacting with my peers,
Okay.
to maybe reduce the chances of me giving in to peer pressure.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And I think that's a great place to start. You and I will talk about boundaries as far as myself as a professional and you as a client. Then we'll also talk about the way your mom's going to be involved in this moving forward with you only being 17. So we'll talk a little bit about boundaries, but I think that's a good place to start as far as your relationships with you and your friends. Kind of talk about what is acceptable for your friendship and what isn't. So I think that's a good place to start. So you'd asked a little bit about treatment here and kind of how we'll navigate through all this. So you'll take part in some assessment processes while you're here, and basically our aim with that is to try to figure out what treatments and services are appropriate for you guys specifically in this situation. What we want to try to do at MedTab is be of the maximum benefit to you. I don't think your situation's uncommon at all, but also you're at a point now where you stand to make some decisions where you can avoid winding up in a similar situation. So hopefully that's a good thing to hear. So based upon that little bit of information that I gave you right there, do you have any questions about kind of what we'll be doing while we're here?
I guess, you're talking about, I hear a little bit of talking about skills and, really some mental health things, and I'm curious, why are we seeing a social worker for these things?
And that's a good question. A lot of people associate things like this with counseling and psychiatry, and we'll get into a little bit of that. Right now, what we want to do is make sure that we do connect you with what you need in particular. So, like the question where I asked if you were seeing anybody else for similar services, if what you need goes beyond my level of competency or understanding, I can maybe refer you out to somebody else. Is there anything else you guys are curious about as far as what we'll take care of while we're here?
Well, I was wondering, since I am, under the age of 18, do I have any say-so in my treatment plan or anything?
Actually, yeah, I'm glad you asked. So, based upon you being underage, being 17, your mom being here for the initial meeting is something that we do here. Moving forward, however, you and I will be meeting individually. Moving forward, if you want your mother to be involved in individual sessions, that's something we can explore further down the road. However, you and I will be meeting regularly for individuals, and kind of the path that your treatment takes after that will be up to you. We'll have a broad-based approach where we're gonna through that assessment process that I talked about, address some things that you've got going on. Then also, we don't want to force you into anything that you don't want to do. We want you to be invested in your own treatment. So we will allow you to have some say-so in kind of what we do moving forward. Does that clear that up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mom, any questions about that?
I'm just curious, in this situation, it looks like Tiffany is not shown that she's been able to make the best decisions on her own. What role can I play in this? Can I say no to any of the, anything she denies to do, or?
Sure.
Anything?
And hopefully that's the what your role in all this too is something we can get into a little bit deeper as we move on with sessions. Like I mentioned before, today's going to be kind of brief. This is a kind of a get to know you session, so I can kind of hear about your situation and what you guys want to do. It sounds like you're invested in the process though, which is a great place to start. And then after that, we'll kind of work more details out as we move forward. Does that make sense? Okay. And again, I think it's awesome that you guys came in today. I think it's a really big commitment to make, and I know sometimes initial things like this can be scary. So hopefully this initial meeting too kind of takes the edge off a little bit. I appreciate you waiting. We do have a busy facility, but we try to run everything on time, so I appreciate you guys coming to see us today. So at this point in time, we've kind of covered everything that we'll do in this initial session, kind of hear about why you're here, some things that you expect from us, what we can expect from you. With that being said, do either of you have any more questions or concerns about what we'll be moving forward with here?
Well, as you're saying, moving forward, is she going to be meeting with you again? I know you said you have a busy facility. Is she going to be, tossed around between a lot of social workers, or will she be seeing you sort of like a counseling session?
So the plan for continuous care is that I'll meet with you for the initial assessment, and then we'll also move forward meeting together. Unless some situation arrives where either of you would decide to seek services from someplace else. But if you were to decide that you wanted to meet with somebody else, you would kind of have to start this process all over, although it might not be that big of a deal right now because we're just kind of in this initial session phase here. But yeah, the plan is that I will be working with your case while you are here at this agency. Tiffany, any questions?
I just have one last question. I would like to ask about my confidentiality.
Sure. And I'm And when you say that, do you mean regarding like with school or probation or your mom or kind of all of those?
All of them together, like, if me and you are discussing things in a session, I might be discussing things with you maybe I don't want other people to know about.
Sure.
So I would like to know how you can keep certain information private and what rights I have to that.
Sure. And that's really a good question to have. It's good you're concerned with that kind of thing. So when you and I talk with each other, there is a level of privacy and confidentiality that always goes into it. Between us, what happens here, what is said here, what is shared here, stays here. I am a mandated reporter of certain things. Once we move through with the intake paperwork process, we'll talk a bit more about that, about informed consent and my duty to report and those kind of things. But basically, for your situation, when you and I share information with each other, it stays here. I will have to share things with the courts as that's mandated by the legal system. Most of the time that information is minimal. More generally about when you were here and how long you were here and how you did in the program versus like the personal stuff we might be uncovering. Does that clear some of that up?
Yes, thank you.
Any questions along the same line?
No, it sounds like you have a really good understanding of what's going next. I feel very confident in your abilities.
Sure, and we try to have, a well-rounded approach, and then also too, with having a young daughter in services, we will keep you informed as much as possible. Like I said, there's gonna be some things that, some sessions where Tiffany and I will be meeting individually, but hopefully we can get to the point where we can bring you back in for some individual sessions and do some therapeutic things together. Okay.
Okay.
Before we leave, anything else that you have any questions about?
You've answered all my questions.
Awesome. It was really nice to meet you today. I appreciate you coming in, Tiffany. Nice to meet you. Look forward to see you again. I need to walk him out the door.
I think we can.